We should be, thank
Make
you.
sure everybody is.
Hi.
Hi, Eric, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Got a picture to show you, I sent to you.
Yeah.
What'd you think? Maybe not for our town,
Not
but
for our
so
town.
cute.
Why, what'd you see?
These little dining pods that are going up downstairs, on in live this morning.
Oh, I've seen those.
So
They're
this is
cool.
in Northville where we moved from.
Oh, yeah, that's where the skeletons came from.
I know,
Yeah.
So they're pods for
Oh, that's the
restaurants.
garage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so heated pods for restaurants to cook and serve them.
Where are they putting it?
They have the streets closed.
That I knew, and they can close their streets. It's so different than how.
So we got three-way this morning, we were gonna have, phone, YouTube, and,
Well, if no one calls on the
These are
phone,
little.
okay, gonna cut it off.
yeah. cut it off.
Morning.
Pretty
Open
It's
extravagant.
35 degrees out this morning.
Yeah,
Just wanted to know.
It isn't freezing
Yes,
yet,
ma'am,
Oh.
I'm all ears.
Okay.
Okay.
Never heard the word, 2 words.
and I still have fake tanner in my,
Okay,
my bottle,
you're
so I
wearing
gotta use it up.
shorts, I love it.
I love it. 2 words for you. First word, this is my last word. Huga. HYGGE, it's Norwegian for family, warmth, fireplace, that kind of thing. That sense of,
Yeah.
just
How is everybody this morning?
free loose leg.
Good.
After last week, crazy. Gorgeous week we got.
This translates to open air,
Margot,
open air like, right?
can I have a check for my ice mess? Can I leave it with someone here? Is Nick?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, just
I'll
leave
put
it with Tammy.
I got it.
Bonfires and skating.
I'll put it on next time.
Oh, and Denny, he wants to skate.
I think it's fun.
No, I love it.
Okay, good, let's do it.
Yeah, no, let's do it. Then my question, who's paying for it?
Well, I'll tell you,
Have you
Northville.
heard that before?
Never,
Northville
never. Who's
DDA
gonna-
has such deep pockets, it's all volunteer parking, and I'm sure they get their tip money and whatever.
The DDA does, yeah.
Yeah.
And their chamber director is an old dear friend of mine.
Lori Ward?
No, their chamber director,
Oh, chamber,
who's
chamber.
Jody Humphreys.
Okay.
I worked with her my very first job out of college in Michigan's athletic department.
Oh,
Hilarious. She was sports information and I was an intern. Yeah, so it's
interesting to
crazy.
know what they're doing DDA, this is the DDA.
Right, and they're, yeah. So, yeah, go for it,
Yeah,
DDA.
yeah.
Go for it, DDA. I'll support you all the
Take
way.
care.
No, I love it. And
Pictures.
Northville is
This is
very
Northville, where I moved from.
forward. But they
So the
can close the
DDA,
streets in a way that we can't.
We can't.
They
Can
close
you
their
just
streets,
imagine
they
trying to
keep them
plow and
And that
shovel
they're
around
building
those
these
and
little
put in
heated
parking
booths for
spots.
Well,
restaurants
the
to
big,
serve out
the
of.
big thing is like their
And little heated
main
booths for people
street,
to eat in.
That's pretty
it
cool.
could be a pedestrian walk forever and always. It doesn't,
Yeah,
I imagine
it's
how much
not.
that would cost.
a little
We
bit.
don't have
A
that.
little bit.
We don't have that ability. So I mean, we're already, not behind the 8 ball, but behind the 8 ball.
Unless we can get M119 moved out of town.
Up Lake Street,
Can we move it up to
Lake
Lake or
Street,
something?
I'm sure the schools won't be happy about that, but
Oh,
yeah.
I won't either. It's
No,
my front
no,
yard.
but places like IGA probably love it
Yeah,
because people find them.
yeah, that's true.
Did I tell you the story? He'd come here for years. Joe, I'm throwing Joe under the bus. He'd come here for years and never knew the IGA was up on the hill. He never knew it. Because he came here and he skied in the winter and he'd come downtown and he'd do Main Street and State. And he always went to D&W. He didn't know Ollison's existed either.
I had a friend who lived here for some of
Conference
years,
Bridge
years,
lady.
and drove by Toski Sands, but would never stop because the name was so funky. She thought it was some kind of wacky place.
Yep. That,
Morning.
yeah.
Only one chair.
Good morning.
You gotta stay home.
Very well, how are you?
No.
How are you, sir? I'm well, thank you.
Do we have a quorum?
Nope,
Well, someone's on the phone.
who's on the phone? Good morning, who's on the phone?
Oh, I'm looking at my name.
Margo out too.
Margot's on Zoom.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Margo. You can see Margot and John. on the
So formal, I
screen.
love it.
Oh, there's Margot.
Hi,
We're
Margo.
not that formal.
Hi, John.
Yeah.
Hi, John.
John's got his mic muted, that's, he's a good guy.
Always.
We can't hear John's
Good morning.
Metallica playing in the background.
I'm so happy.
Well, that's Kyle,
Kyle
never mind.
leaves this morning.
I know.
I wish they would come on my side of the street.
It's the little things, isn't it, Brian?
Oh, we don't have it.
Yeah, we're township, so
One house out of the city.
Brian's very OCD about his leaves.
So leaves end on Friday, is that right?
I try.
We will
They
see.
look good
We
for
have-
at least a couple hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Four DPW, we have four
I
DPW
drove
guys out,
down
so.
later.
We have four DPW guys out, so
Yeah.
we
That
just,
was perfect, not too long ago.
I don't know, we're gonna be able to get to the stuff we need
Blew
to
them off again about 10 seconds later, discussed them.
And she goes, yeah, that, and there's an ice skating rink. I said, Dr. Denny, I know that's
There's some possibilities.
right there.
What's that?
The bonfires and ice skating rink in downtown.
Okay. Denny, let's talk.
Man full of
Hey, let's
ideas.
talk at the meeting.
It's, okay, back to the question. Where's the money coming from?
Well,
Oh, shoot.
the skating rink would be pretty cheap, and I think John Cubs has these little portable.
Oh my God, that'd be a hoot.
You know, I live across from this complex of ours, and it's busy up there.
Is it? Well, then you could have bought.
Amy's on.
Hey, Tim.
Oh, yeah, real good.
I love your skeleton, by the way. Are you guys in planning for, Buddy the Elf? I know, 'cause she.
Well, we got Amy on.
All over
Amy's-
us.
okay, so then we got Good morning, everyone. We are going to, Amy just joined us, that gave us
That's gonna be a
forum.
new category.
Hi, Amy.
Actually, one, but I think they're gonna-
You need the gavel?
Morning. No,
Give the gavel.
Well, and I get prizes.
my favorite gavel, by the way, was when I left the, I turned all over my year as chamber president, and Brian Braddock gave me an engraved gavel that says bitch on it.
Oh.
And I love it.
You use it with pride.
I do use it with pride. Okay, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We are at quorum now. We're still missing a couple. Margot, who, I think Jody's coming. Who else might be coming?
I'm not sure who's there, but I know that Nikki was going to try to phone in,
So that
and
must be-
Josh was going to try
Nikki's
to
on the phone.
call or phone in, so I can't see who else there, and I did not hear from Matt, but everybody else I thought was coming.
Okay, Nikki, welcome. She's on the phone. I know Jody is coming, and then it's just Josh and Matt.
So we have someone.
Matt, I think they opened tonight. So there she
Hey,
is.
Jody.
Jody's here. So in the room, Margot, we've got Dana, Jody, myself, Brian, Keely, and Tim.
How about I run roll call?
Yeah,
Oh, you're right. You need to do that, don't you? Go ahead.
Mine too.
Roll call.
All right. Kathy Breitner,
Here.
Matt Figuera, Tim Knapp,
Here,
Josh Baker,
Kathy.
Jody Eubank,
Here.
Nikki Law,
She's here.
Dana Mulder,
Here,
Brian Devini,
Here.
might be with tree board.
and Amy Gillard.
She's zooming. Morning, everyone.
good morning.
Morning. Okay, so Margot was at home this morning as she's prepping for a visit downstate next week that she needs to be careful for. So thank you for everyone for joining us today as we roll into our November meeting and agenda. First up, the approval of minutes. Anyone have any comments or corrections from our October meeting? If not, could I have a motion to approve?
Motion. Second.
May I have a motion and support? Okay, Jody and Dana, Margot? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we move into public comment. Margot, we have in the audience the usual cohort. Kyle, Denny, and Bonnie. Anyone have anything to say? Yet? No? Well,
No, thank you.
chime in anytime, you three. Okay. Next in will be COVID-19 updates and issues.
The only COVID update I have is that City Hall will be closing to the public starting tomorrow at 5 p.m. I know Bonnie might want to give us an update as far as ladies' night and open house and where we stand on those.
So, closing to the public tomorrow meetings, no more meetings in here either?
So I'll elaborate on that. So I say tomorrow at 5 PM, so obviously tomorrow during the day. But meetings can happen, but we want to close the meetings to public participants, have them participate remotely. The spread is just, yesterday, for example, we had 40 cases. The spread is just it's rising too rapidly. We got to ensure the safety of our staff, got to ensure the safety of the community, because if we have, at some council meetings, we can have 15, 20 people in the audience. So we can still have the meetings here for the board members, but we're going to make sure that the public participants come in remotely. And that's going to be council may talk about that more on Monday, but right now it's a to be determined kind of time frame, just kind of waiting to see where the numbers go.
All right. Ladies begins today or tomorrow?
Ladies Weekend begins
Yes, sir.
today, goes through Sunday. We've had wonderful participation. I mean, our big hope is that people will shop and spread themselves out and be at the restaurants and our businesses, and we've asked people to obviously continue to mask up and social distance and all of those other good things. From what I have not seen any negative pushback. Has anybody else seen
No.
anything? So I will take that as people are kind of okay with that. We need our businesses to continue to get the business and the money. We had 49 participants, which is fantastic. So,
It's double what we often have.
yeah. I like that it's a weekend. I'm actually throwing around the idea of it being a weekend every year moving forward, but I get different feedback on that. So, so that's Ladies Weekend. I'm gonna come back to tree lighting. Open house, I'd like to switch it to a weekend. We wouldn't have the steel band, we wouldn't have none of that major crazy stuff that we've had in the past. It would be Thursday to Sunday. Again, I believe it's just capitalizing on the fact that people are going to be in town anyway and starting their holiday shopping, and we should welcome them with reason. Now, that's where we are now. As you're right, I'm perpetually watching the numbers and the rising, and it makes me very concerned. But we have changed it on our website to say that it's a weekend at this point.
Okay.
So. And then do you want tree lighting? Do you want me to talk about that now? Okay. So tree lighting. The plan is, and I spoke with Kyle yesterday, thank you, that we are going to continue moving forward. Everything will be outside. There will not be any chili or hot cocoa at the church. We will have A+ Entertains has agreed to continue to do the music and the PA and all of those good things. The stage will be on the west side of the tree, and he will bring lighting, and he says that his PA system is more than ample. So I'm gonna meet him next week, and we will encourage the crowd to go west up Main towards Zorn Park, towards the church. The parking lot between Johann's and the church will be blocked off, so it's very open space, not closed off. Our intent is it will be rather short and sweet. We will stick with a lot of our traditions. We will congratulate the businesses that win the decorating contest. And then we're also going to stream it live on Facebook. So, which I think could be really fun for our individuals who are summer people and have never gotten to see the tree lighting. And so that's the other piece, if people want to stay home, but they can still see it. So that's the plan for now.
And you have talked to Chief Knight about this?
Yes.
Yeah.
I discussed it yesterday.
We
So-
talked yesterday, or you, sorry, Bonnie, go.
No, you finished, go.
So we talked yesterday, actually while we were talking, I used our McCollum GIS to measure out, because per the protocol, you're supposed to have 30 people per 1,000 square feet. And when I did the measuring from, let's say, sidewalk to sidewalk, west of the church, and we're still gonna block all downtown off as we did in the past, from Gardner's to Main Street, all the way down to Gardner, and then we'll do State Street Bay to 3rd Street. So all that's gonna be open, so people coming, they don't have to walk down the sidewalk, so it'll be ample room for people to walk. And then measuring it out, I come up with not even using Zorn Park, 20,000 square feet. and that would allow us almost 600 people. And so I don't anticipate a lot more than that. But that's just using the street, that's not using any Zorn Park. So, or that's not using any of the church's parking lot either.
Can you,
So,
can you guys bring this to council on Monday,
Sure,
November 16th? Yeah, just because I don't think they've had a chance to
yeah,
weigh the options. So,
absolutely.
Okay.
Do you want me to phone in on that?
uh,
We'll talk
yeah.
about that offline.
Yeah.
But, okay, yes, absolutely, I'm happy to do that. Yes,
We keep talking about the rise and, I mean, we canceled the Halloween parade. We've canceled or not we, but the Petoskey, the DMV canceled the holiday parade. They're doing a very small tree lighting from what I understand and no open house at all. I'm concerned about having a tree lighting. I'm very concerned because I think it's gonna be impossible for Kyle and the crew. It's gonna be impossible to keep people 6 foot distance, no matter what. And it just concerns me that we'd have a little mini outbreak because of 600 people gathering, and there's usually not 600. I mean, I would say probably 400 is a good
Maybe less this year.
estimate, but I just have to voice my concern, and, I mean, we're doing all we can, I think, at the pier, and I think most restaurants are in Harbor Springs and retailers and merchants, and, probably personally, everyone in this room is doing all they can. But
Could we have Kyle dressed as Santa on the PA saying, hey, ho, 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 everybody move back another 4 feet, or I don't know.
There will be singing, will there?
there doesn't need to be, I mean, this is fluid, and you all.
They say singing is a,
Singing's a big hazard.
We could have, and we could just have the gentleman who's up on the stage, and that'll just be him and me, really, play music, play holiday music, and that would be the extent of that piece. And that's fine. I mean, I am more than happy to listen to ideas, suggestions. Just because we're talking about moving forward right this minute, that does not mean that it is 100% gonna happen.
I'm just concerned that, so we have 400 people and they're going to go into hopefully 30 some shops and restaurants right from standing in a group of 300, 400 people.
No shops are going to be open.
The shops aren't gonna be open.
Does anybody share my concern or is this just me?
No, I completely agree with Jody. I think that there's a very valid reason about why these things have been canceled in smaller communities, and to see the rise rates in the hospital and what the hospitals have been putting out, asking people to please not gather, to please socially distance. I think that we as a community should be listening to that. And as much as everybody wants things like this to go forward, I think that it doesn't look good. And I think the risk of spread could be, I mean, we could ask people to do all of the things that you're asking and do it as safe as possible. We've seen that within the schools. The schools are doing an amazing job, and there's still a problem.
Ultimately, because this involves closing down a street, the council will have to make a decision, especially with COVID, whether it goes forward. Usually we get staff to make a recommendation in non-COVID times, but because of COVID, we've been bringing all these decisions absolutely to the council, because ultimately whatever happens in our community is going to reflect on them and their decisions on how they decide to go forward. So they need to really consider this. So I think any recommendations, I don't know if the DDA wants to give a recommendation as a whole board, but I think maybe just having this discussion to give feedback to Bonnie and Kyle before they go back to council on Monday, just to,
I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound like a naysayer.
No, we need to hear it, and believe me, I'm very concerned.
I just think it's, as a community, it's irresponsible because all we hear, stay safe, stay 6 feet apart, and wear your masks.
Do you think we could request masks?
Yeah,
Oh,
the state
request,
law, it's required by state
masks
law.
will be.
Even
yes.
outdoors, I mean, that would be like
Masks will be
double
I mean, that
protection, you're
is-
outdoors and you've got a mask
Yes.
and you're
Masks
6
are
feet apart.
definitely, I mean, everything that we have out there is mask required.
Kyle?
Can you require them outside?
It's not a state law right now.
The only requirement is that if you're within 6 feet of someone for more than 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's close contact.
Yeah.
The other thing I was gonna say, and I don't care either way, but we had a lot of negativity about Halloween and us having Halloween. And anything I heard about Halloween was nothing but positive. I mean, I will say, I was out there the entire time of Halloween. Everybody wore a mask. Not everybody, majority of people wore a mask. Everybody did a very good job of social distancing. And all the people who handed out candy were very responsible in doing so. So I'm not saying yes or no, but I'm just saying, because my concern was Halloween, it's like it sort of was on my shoulder that felt, and we went ahead with it. And I walked the streets for 2.5 hours that night and had hundreds of people thank me for having Halloween, because the kids need some normalcy and they needed a tradition. And I don't want it to wait, and I understand, because like, I'm worried to death about that place across the street and us getting COVID. But in the same sense, when Halloween came around, there was a lot of positive compliments. I mean, I'd walk on the street, people thank me, thank you for letting us have this. And so it's that balancing act. And we gotta be responsible as a city, not to spread it and be a super spreader as well. So I understand Jody's attachment of it.
Yeah.
But I think we do have a public address announcer. We do have a PA. If we use that as well to say, please, I mean, a continuous like PSA, make sure you stay apart from each other. I mean, we have that ability.
Do you think it would be at all reasonable to mark off like spots?
You couldn't
like
see
a
it in the
grid?
dark.
Pardon?
You couldn't see it in the dark.
It would be hard, yeah,
Yeah.
and it would be hard to see in the dark, and obviously couldn't be anything barrier-wise, because people might trip or something.
I mean, people bring families, like 4 kids and mom and dad, and
Yeah.
from what I see in the restaurant, people that walk in, you know, there's an age group with which the adults, the parents can get a child to keep a mask on. You know, that there's an age, otherwise that they're ripping it off their face, and I think social distancing, when people get caught up in the moment, if I see Kyle across the way, oh my gosh, Kyle, and I'm running after him. Oh, no, we can't hug. Oh, we can stand here and talk for a while. And, you know, I think believing that people are gonna socially distance 6 feet is a pipe dream.
In the order that came down from the health department 2 weeks ago for outdoor gatherings at non-residential venues, there are 3 criteria. One, you mentioned 1,000 or fewer, 30 persons per 1,000 square feet. The last one says all persons wear a mask. So in this order, it requires it for outdoor gatherings.
Well, the problem with that, and I don't know, I'm speaking for Kyle, is that we don't know who is downtown or walking the street on there for the tree lighting or for not. So if someone's just walking down the sidewalk just because it's a public sidewalk,
Yeah.
we can't require them to wear a mask. But if they're there, so it's a tricky enforcement one.
Although
So
it'll
yeah,
be on the other side of the tree, so there shouldn't be any just
Exactly.
passersby. It's dark.
it's
People don't come by at hour.
it's just
I-
very.
I think we need to let council decide this.
Yep.
I'm also nervous about it. I just don't want the chance of being a participant in a problem.
This is the 28th, right? 20
Yes,
28th.
Saturday the 28th.
Other comments, Amy?
Yep, I totally agree that it's not a good thing to do. It's not a good image element. As well, and it's different than Halloween. Halloween, people are moving all around and it's a progression. This is people standing around together. So I'm in agreement with what Jody has brought up as concerns.
My
And I
only-
think we can make this a great Facebook Live or
Yeah.
a streaming event. Sit at home, eat your leftovers, have a glass of wine and watch a tree. We can make it a big deal.
And that's fine, and I'm happy to do that as well, and just make it a Facebook streaming. Now, the other question I would have to all of you is
Can you still do that?
how do we encourage people to not come downtown?
That's what I was
Because it's
just
a public
thinking about.
place.
Yeah,
So anyway, I mean,
I
we
think
could
they're
sort
gonna
of
come
think
anyways.
about and
and
talk
then
about those
Maybe we
things,
just,
Yeah.
but because I was thinking the same thing, because we will be Facebook streaming it, and I would encourage people to do that, so,
I think you can encourage the people to watch it at home, but I don't think we have any recourse, and Kyle, I'll defer to you, but if a person walks downtown and stops on that street, I don't think you can say, I'm taking you to jail.
Well, if someone, correct me if I'm wrong here, Kyle, if the street's not closed and someone's just standing in the middle of the street, the police can go there and say, you gotta get off the street or you're getting a ticket. I mean, so if they start lining up in the sidewalks, and correct me if I'm wrong here, and they're causing obstruction on the sidewalks, again, you can ask those people to keep on walking on the sidewalks if they're just standing there. I mean, if the crowds are gathering the sidewalks and just gathering there, I mean, there is recourse.
I hear what you're saying, but you're gonna ask
You're gonna have a lot
our
of
police
people.
force to try to
Right.
manage that. You'd have to call on the National Guard. I mean,
Well, there's a difference between promoting
that's what I'm
it.
saying,
Yeah.
don't promote it, but say, encourage them to watch it on Facebook Live, and I think that, what else can we do?
Well, I think we need, I think if you're asking what else we could do, we could say we're asking that there's no public attendance.
Yeah.
Or watch it, yeah. I mean, encourage
Well, and
people.
if the streets are closed or not closed and there's not a PA system and all of that, it's not
Right.
an
point.
event at that point.
That's a good point. You could
then,
still,
yeah, we'd have to brainstorm. on
Yeah.
that, because then it'd be, parts of that would be hard to do, difficult to do Facebook live streaming, but we can solve that problem. Because it would be nice to at least put something out to the public and make it just because the lights are gonna get plugged in. It's how, when and how
yeah.
are
middle of the day.
and they're just on.
Well, that's another thought is you can plug in the lights late at night when no one's there and then broadcast it, live stream it the next day or something like that. I mean, there's different things you can
Yeah,
do. It doesn't have to be a live broadcast.
point.
You can just have
Yeah.
a taping.
I agree.
Okay,
It'd be nice if we could find a webcam downtown that just was on the Christmas tree for about a month.
the lyric probably doesn't reach that.
I
The
know,
church has one, but it's not.
that would be great.
That's too bad.
Is that something special we have?
I think the theater may have one.
They do, I think it might be too far. And it is directed currently right at the new construction that Bob's company's put
Yeah,
in.
you can see on the Graham camera, their bluff cam, when it's lit, when all of downtown is lit. It is beautiful on video. But
The church has a
Yeah,
webcam
that
that
could be
faces
something.
back.
Yeah, the church has a steeple.
That
cam
could be
goes right
something
down
you
Main
could
Street.
talk to the church or the theater about. Maybe they would reposition or do something just for the month on the tree.
yeah, can we look at that? Because it's really.
I will. I'll talk
I've
to
done it
Holy
at night
Childhood and
before.
I'll
It's
talk
just
to the
lovely.
lyric and see, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
And maybe also Graham, just in case if you want a drone, they have a drone.
Oh,
Yeah.
good idea. A drone.
Well, and we also, yeah, the chamber also has another
Okay,
member that's a drone
so yeah,
company, yes.
the school doesn't get
All
fined.
right. Good ideas, thank you all.
Do we need to make a formal statement? Do you think you got enough from us?
I think we have enough. I
Okay.
think Bonnie has enough, so when we
Yeah.
go in front of council, yeah.
All right, let's move into our next option on our lineup today, which is the Marina Park update. Margot? Oh, off. Turn it back on.
Unmute.
Oh,
Okay. And I don't know if that, Victor, if that was gonna be Jenny or you wanted to give the update, or I know, Deanna was also at that meeting, so,
Yeah, I can give a very brief overview there, Margot. Really, so we went to the Harbor Commission asking them about whether they were going to, or how they wanted to proceed with the updates to the Harbor Master Building. Basically asking them how they're going to find the money, when they want it completed, and if they still wanted to go forward with the plans because of the need to do something with the green space at the Marina Waterfront Park. The Harbor Commission kind of talked it out a little bit. They basically said 5 years. They hope to have that building, rebuilt in 5 years. Depending on the funding and and high water level issues. I mean, those could affect, how they go forward with the building, because that money that they have saved up might need to be used for shoreline repairs or dock repairs. So, but they give a maximum kind of goal of 5 years. Brought it to council talked about it a little bit more and, said, yeah, 5 years the maximum, hopefully we could do it sooner, 2 to 3 years. So in the meantime, that kind of gave the go ahead to say, all right, once council reviews the capital improvements plan for when they want to fit in all the other city projects into the next 6 years, then we can maybe start forming some sort of committee to look at the Marino waterfront park to see what we want to do there. Maybe we necessarily don't have to put something there right away, but at least we can start planning for when or if we redesign that building in the next few years, whether it's 3 years or 5 years. At least we can have a plan going for part of the green space. When we go back to council for the capital improvements planning, Nick, Denny, and Lucas and I sat down, and we just want to make sure council has all the facts. We never got an estimate on what that building will cost. It was just a guess by. We never actually took it out to bid and asked for a quote. We never got an estimate of how much the parking lot would be to do, how much the infrastructure, the water, the sewer, the electric. There's so much there that needs to be potentially be done that it could end up costing much more money than the $1.4 million that the Harbor Commission and staff thought about 2-3 years ago. So it can end up being higher. So that may or may not affect the council's decision. So we're working on those numbers right now. Denny's also putting in like low end numbers to high end numbers for any park improvements too. So council can have a range of, if we just do the bare minimum landscaping, it's going to cost us this much. But if we have more grandiose ideas, it could cost us this much. So that way council then can get a better idea of how much it will actually cost to do the entire project, not just the building, and how much, and realistically where we could get that money from. The Harbor Commission doesn't want all that money, rightfully so, to just come from the waterfront funds, because there'll be a lot of improvements that aren't just waterfront based. But how much of a priority then is this project going to take over other projects? And that's what council will have to decide when they do their capital improvements planning, getting I think a more holistic picture. But for the time being, I think that the plan is to go ahead with the redo of the Harbor Master Building, and whether it's 3 years or 5 years, that's not 100% known yet. And then also to just start planning there. So if I think maybe once we get this capital improvements plan set, then we can perhaps form some sort of committee that can look at the park aspect, the green space aspect. That's a summary. So that's, I don't know if Dana or Danny have anything different than that to add to that, but.
I think we did get the green light to go ahead and start planning, but probably it's good to get through the capital planning process first.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good meeting, I thought, but again, I don't think we should spend any time on it until we figure out what direction the council wants us to go. As a DDA, I don't want to spend a bunch of time and energy looking at that when they say, we're not going to spend the money on that, we're going to spend the money on the boardwalk, or we're going to spend the money on street lighting downtown, or tree grading, whatever that is. I'm tired of spinning our wheels and doing stuff that isn't useful of Margot's time or our time. So I think we do need to wait until we get direction from council.
That's a good point. That capital improvements plan will be reviewed in December 7th, December 14th. So by the end of December, by mid-December, we should know what council's, what projects they're going to prioritize for next year or the year after, et cetera. So, and again, even just planning is not, that's where Tim makes up the good point, is it's not so much we're going to be spending money just to plan, it's just a time thing. Do we want to direct staff resources like Margot's resources to planning for something that might not be for 3 years down the road? But I guess I'll leave that to.
Okay.
I'd like to bring up one more thing that Denny and I had talked about too, is what could we do down there that would be fun for this winter? And we had talked about what if we had the ice skating rink down there, and what if we had John Cups provide some of his fire pit things,
Again, I
Fun
guess
thing for
we also
families.
have to see where we're going with COVID. That seems to be driving everything, large gatherings. But that's a possibility, probably not for this one at all. But I think it should be something to look at. How awesome would that be?
Yeah.
Does anybody know if Walloon is planning their
A little village?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Still on their calendar.
Oh, is
But
it?
that doesn't necessarily, I think
they
we're
have
all
a-
rather reluctant to cancel.
Yeah.
It's easier to kind of cancel last
I
minute.
think they do an ice skating rink.
Yeah,
They do.
right there, it's awesome.
And it's also, ice skating rink is also weather dependent as well. They're predicting a warmer early start to the winter and a cold spring, so you never know with the Farmer's Almanac. But anyway, there's a
We
lot
don't
of.
have any acorns, so I'm guessing it's gonna be milder. We'll see.
We had acorns.
We didn't have any acorns this
We
year.
had acorns.
Let the minutes reflect.
Please. The town is light on acorns.
Kathy walks outside and goes, she's like the squirrel.
Yeah. Winter's good.
Riding rod, yeah.
Margot, that is all I had for the Marina Park update. So
Okay, we're moving on then to number 7, which is our downtown development committee with updates from Margot. I'm gonna go into promotions.
All right, the only one that really, we have to discuss about is promotions, and that's just with the Ice Fest. I'm starting to get contracts coming in, we have about 5 or 6 along with the grown. I don't have any contracts from any of the DDA members so
Yes,
far,
you
but I
do.
do have a lot,
Mine's on the desk.
okay. A lot of verbal agreements, and so we just need the promotions committee to regroup and start calling, because I have about, beyond the 6, probably another 15 or so businesses that have given verbal commitments, so we need to start calling and getting them to actually respond and send their contract in.
Okay.
Do you have that covered, Marco, or do you need help?
Yeah, we had that spreadsheet last year. We all kind of divided it up. Should we update that?
I have updated the spreadsheet so far as what's
Right.
coming in, and I think that we can, whether it's just the promotions committee or Ice Fest committee, just Zoom together or
Yes, I agree.
call. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna probably be available to meet face to face that week. But we could split the list up, and people could call and feel who
Yeah, we can
they're
do that.
able to reach out to.
All right, let's get that list back around.
And if you could just tell us who you have confirmed,
It'll be on the list.
you have, okay.
Yes, yeah. And I think everybody on the promotions committee has been given access to that spreadsheet.
Google Drive.
Margot, could we back up just a minute for the Downtown Enhancement Committee and where we stand with the tree grate project with capital improvements discussions coming up? Is there any additional information that we need to provide to council about, taking the big lighting expense out that we were talking about? Like, can we summarize, the new reduced cost or put something in
We
council?
can. I think we were kind of waiting on council to see what they were looking at with their capital improvements and when I presented them as far as what, we gave a direction of where we were, the money that we have that is gonna be going over to transferring the fund balance that will transfer to next year. So that will put us in a position if we as a DDA choose to pursue the downtown grades over another project that we may even want to pursue. But yes, we can, so I do feel like in a little bit, we did share that with council when I presented as far as removing that electrical cost, but I think we need to look at that project within the DDA to see whether that's something maybe we would keep the electric in a different way, but work maybe with Harbor Springs Electric and see where some of that funds. So we need to kind of, I think, shape the project a little bit from our end too.
So are we taking steps to do that as we walk into the capital projects conversation?
I think that's something we need to talk to them about. Is that something they want to pursue? If council wants to pursue that and we want to pursue it and then the Harbor Electric wants to pursue lighting. Otherwise, we look at the project completely without the lighting involved at all. But just after talking to Dan Healy, there are some benefits if we are replacing the globes and putting it and wanting to go the outlet direction. I think we have completely eliminated the idea of doing the electric from underground, that it really just is too costly, and people weren't happy with the idea of the pull boxes and that direction.
So now that we have a new, I think we were waiting on this to see what happened with council. And now that we know that there are some changes, can we, in a couple of weeks, come back in front of them with maybe the numbers minus the electric and ask for direction? Does that make sense?
Or
feel like
as
if we
Tim
don't-
said before, do we want to go through that without knowing? John, do you know what's the temperature of the council on some of these, on these projects for capital?
Well, I don't know about capital in general. Specifically about the tree grades, I think when you last presented an update, there was a lot of information. And I think there was a good exchange about how the different components related to cost. And I agree, the conclusion that I came away with is that burying the electric was both too expensive and there wasn't really a good solution from a connectivity standpoint. So integrating it with the posts and doing it from an outlet on the post made a lot of sense to me. But what I didn't see was, and I think as a council member, what I would want to see is for the DDA to come back and say, we've regurgitated all the information that we gathered and that we heard, and this is what we want to do, and this is what we need from council in order to make this viable going forward. And at that point, you have a real negotiation going on as far as capital goes.
I would say.
It was from one person's perspective, it was informational but vague. There was no specific call to action that council could vote on.
I would suggest that the next DDA meeting is December 2nd. And the next council meeting after this one is December 7th. So that maybe for the December 7th meeting so we'll be handing the budget and the capital improvements plan to council on December 7th. So maybe the DDA can present on, the DDA can maybe present or update the council on what the direction is, so then council can weigh that in for when they look at the budget and the capital improvements plan and decide, all right, because right now in our capital improvements plan that we have, we put a range of the costs for what this costs, because we're not, we weren't sure it could cost 150, it could cost 270, right? We're just not sure exactly which, depending on which choice that the DDA and the council decide to go with, the range could be all over the place. So if you guys come back with a narrower, more scope that council can latch onto or discuss, then they can weigh that out in their next year's budget or the capital improvements plan.
I think we should meet
Exactly.
the downtown
I think
enhancement
that
committee, because
The downtown enhancement committee needs to meet and talk about this,
There you go.
because at the point, we had been pursuing globes on the downtown electric, but we have not looked into any costs as far as the lamp posts, which would include the outlets that Dan Hugh and I talked about. So it's something we need to, I think, look at and really delve into. I'm not sure we'll even have an estimate by December 7th on lamp post costs. But I think the enhancement committee needs to meet and.
could we set something up next week, Marco?
She cannot next
Well,
week.
you can do Zoom though, right?
I can do Zoom up until Wednesday and then I'm completely gone.
Okay,
And then we're gonna be into Thanksgiving week, so I think
so next week it does
I
make
think we
sense,
should-
Monday
yeah.
or Tuesday by Zoom. If you can't do it,
Yeah.
can you send some dates around and let people chime in?
Yes.
we've changed the electric, and then we're also taking a different approach on tree removal and tree installation. So I
Yeah.
think a lot of things have changed, and we need to firm that up and
Okay.
give to council.
Good idea. All right, we'll meet in the next week or so, and then we'll have a update on this at our December meeting. Okay. Are we through what you need for Ice Fest?
Yes.
Okay?
Yes, I will be sending that out as far as another meeting to get everybody, the promotion committee to start making calls on that too.
Okay, the next item is the county TIF update.
Oh,
Okay. We're moving. It's in the hands of the Attorney General's office now. Yeah, they gave the nod to review it, and Wayne and the legislative legal staff has submitted to the AG. So we wait to see.
are you sure about that?
No, I'm not sure about
I mean,
that.
I'm just.
No, I
got
totally
information.
will, no, I am not sure about that.
Okay,
He says he did, but I guess I should call the AG and get confirmation because I've heard that before. But,
Good job, Kathy, great job.
now, yay!
well, I gave him 3 days notice that I was showing up. So he says it went the day before I appeared. And he did give me all his contacts, so I'll follow up. It was really, really good conversation that we had about why it's taken so long and his concerns. But it's moving. And the fact that the AG had even agreed to hear it is a great thing. There are they understand the precedents that are being set. So they want to make sure that other communities don't have to go through this. And I've gone over this with Mark, the process of how this works. Typically, it's 3 to 6 months. It's reviewed by a handful of the attorney generals, younger generals, and their staffs. And maybe they'll follow up with questions. Usually the answer is yes. We have given Wayne a very, very deep stack of supporting materials that went on to the AG. But I would expect that there'll be some follow-up questions. So we'll just.
Kathy, can you review how much money is on the table retroactive and how much?
About
we're looking at?
45,000 retroactive right now, then
going forward?
increases going forward.
How much?
Well, every year it changes
Yeah,
based
right,
on,
but just,
I don't know,
It
60-ish.
it all depends on what this new project, like Rob Mossberg's project is valued at. So it's gonna be more unless property values tank. So,
And Margot, has the NDA sent their letter on to the AG also?
They have not gotten back to me after I spoke with them about after they were taking it to their board. So I need to reconnect with them.
I ended up with such respect for what your husband's going to have to go through, Margot, with listening to people show up at these open sessions with their topics of conversation. He did a really wonderful job of handling them. He did leave me for a long period of time when one went down a rabbit hole of some wacky COVID something, and I just kind of got to hammer the guy for the 20 minutes when he was gone. It's an amazing thing that they do, that they listen to us and that they give us the opportunity to appear and speak. And, I had his back for the whole hour. It was just such a fascinating thing for me to see what our elected people must do. I had great respect for that. So I'll follow up. I have staff people and I'll call the AG. So it's going. It was a fun meeting. Okay, let's go on to director update.
Okay, so just a couple of things. We are still handing out the COVID reimbursement DDA grants. So far, we've had 11 businesses that have gotten reimbursement, but it's kind of slowed down. So we need to make a decision as to whether we want to keep pushing or just reimburse the businesses. A lot of the businesses that sent me their receipts were for much more than $200, and that's where we had limited it. But at this point, we haven't gotten, we haven't spent all the money. And so our options are to go back and give more money to the businesses that have sent me receipts and applied, or we can keep waiting because we are going into winter and people may have more, some more receipts and all that. The problem is, I was surprised a lot of the businesses don't still have their receipts for their COVID protection things and the things that they've spent on those expenses. So that was kind of surprising to me.
Marco, how much money is left?
I would,
About half.
So 2,500?
Margot, I never got my check. Jody,
You didn't, okay, well, I will check onto yours.
Okay,
Just one other idea on what to do with the money is Tim had said he's got somebody that has those portable stations,
this is a grant that we were,
but it's for COVID though, right?
yeah, but this was a reimbursement only, was what we were allowed to do with
Okay.
the grant. This is not open money.
It's not, so even if it's COVID related, we
No,
can't
it
use it.
has to meet the intentions that we
Okay. Got it.
Our intention was to help the businesses.
Yep.
Can you give us the list of the 11, and then as we're around, we can push buttons if need be on others that have not applied? And then
Absolutely.
and then maybe let's take a couple of weeks to do that, but I just start giving them a deadline. Just tell them, if you don't have them, we're gonna go back and give more to those who did. And maybe that'll push somebody to do it.
I will, and I can tell you, I've walked many of the businesses and talked to them, and the response has been either, oh, save that money for somebody else who needs it, or I don't have receipts for my PPE.
That's amazing.
it's called an accountant. Do they?
I don't know, that's what surprised me. This is a business expense. They don't have the receipts.
Well, I know what I turned into Margot was a $3,000 mask receipt because that's what
Yeah.
we bought at the beginning of the year. We spent $3,000 in masks.
I would just, let's try one more shot, give them a deadline, tell them if you don't go, we're giving it to your friends who did submit some paperwork. Okay?
Okay,
And let us know.
If I can say one thing, I have talked to a few other business owners downtown that feel guilty taking that money.
Oh,
And as I have suggested to them, you know, it's not a gift, it's something you're doing to help the community. And if you feel somewhat remiss in taking a reimbursement for it, take the money and donate it to a charity.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, with Christmas coming up, it might be a nice approach to businesses that don't want the reimbursement money to say, hey, take it and then pass it on to a charity.
Well, and another side of that is that we went through a fair amount of work to present and get this money
Yeah.
from the foundation. If we don't use it,
We did.
it hurts us going forward to be able to submit that we're going to deliver.
Mhm.
So follow up with that same process, take it, use it elsewhere, but
Yeah.
We need people to take it.
Thank you.
Bye, Kyle.
I got another meeting at night.
Thank you.
so, all right, thanks, Sue.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you. You'll leave that camera out here.
we now have a new grant opportunity that I'm gonna be sending out to the businesses in town. This was the one that I had mentioned before, and it has just come available. I just got it from the Petoskey Harbor Springs Area Community Foundation. And this one is the Small Business Regional Resiliency Program grant. And it is going to be it is for businesses that employ 9 or fewer full-time employees. And the grants are to be spent to cover reasonable business costs that relate to the ability of the business to open and to operate consistent with the safety measures and guidelines involving COVID-19. And the grants are $5,000 each, so I will be sending that out to all of the
Yeah, the chamber
downtown.
has done that, and I actually looked at the grant guidelines yesterday. The deadline is the 20th of November.
Yeah.
So there's not much
Yeah.
time left for people to do that. It's about a
No,
30-minute
they just put it out.
30-minute process, 30-minute questions, Q&A on their website to answer the questions. A lot, some of it would be for some of the expenses that our first grant offers as reimbursement, but it has even more going forward for the businesses. So we do need to push people to apply for that if they have not.
Is the chamber and DDA sending out something about it then?
Well, it's already out twice.
I sent something out
Yeah.
already.
The chamber sent it out last week.
Yeah,
Because the deadline, I mean, the 20th is that
next week.
kind of freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah.
Jeez. But I
Okay.
don't think it hurts for the DDA to send it as well.
Website update, Margot?
We keep plugging away now at least been moved over to the Squarespace. I've gotten that set up and account, and now it's just still putting in all of the business directory, and we're plugging away on that. That's,
Were you gonna help Kathy?
we're getting close. I mean, that's,
I did do the update for all of the directory already.
Oh, so what's left then?
So what's left beyond the directory?
it all has to be the directory has to be put into the website.
Okay.
And that's on another program, and that I've finally figured out how it works.
Yeah.
But and so that, along with the changes, but I've gotten the account all moved off of what it had been before and restarted up in the new website, and we are very close.
Good.
How many hours do you think, Margot?
Hours away or hours of
Hours of your time to get it up and running?
Well, it's gonna be, I don't know, we've got to finish getting this business directory all into it, and that's gonna take some more hours.
Yeah, the data's there, it has to move, it doesn't move seamlessly. There's multiple steps to move in the data. So that's the holdup, and she did have to go in and get a separate software program to move it into our application software.
Is there something that we can help you with, Margaret?
It is, it's just, and somebody that like knows, so that she's using a program called Community Box, and it was something I was completely unfamiliar with, so it's taken me a little bit to figure out what I needed to do to move it, to put all of the data into Community Box, and then move it and how that works into the Squarespace website. That took me a little bit, but now it's just a matter of putting each business into the Community Box.
Okay.
And so, yes, somebody can help on that.
Is that something Keely would be interested in, maybe?
Good time. You want to talk to Keely, Margot, and see if you can show her what you need?
Yes, I'm watching her on screen. She looks very enthusiastic.
As would anyone.
Yeah, yeah, I'd be happy to help too, so just holler. I like to learn new web stuff.
And Lucy's been helpful. She responds to me when I text her and say, I don't see how this is working or what, and so she has responded and kind of sent me some helpful information and to keep moving. But, next thing is the bylaws, and that we are waiting. I think Victor can explain. I think Jim Raymer had one more question before he brings it back to us.
Oh, yeah, so actually, I did get it from Jim. He just put it in the format that we have for our other bylaws, but he also he reorganized a section about the principal shopping district, and he's gonna take it to council. I don't think there's major changes, except that he figured, we call it the DDA, and he took out the principal shopping district. He created its own article for it on page 5, and basically just said, found the resolution, just copy that language, and just shows that the DDA is also serves as a board for the PSD. But he then formatted everything into the way we do all our other boards and commissions. So the goal was to take it to council on the 16th and have their approval of it, and
Okay.
that should be it.
All right, it's moving. Okay, so now do you want to update us on the presentation to council?
Yep. So I updated council on the 19th, just kind of the state of the DDA. Honestly, there were not a lot of questions, which was, I guess, good. I'm assuming that there was a lot of information, a lot of financial information, particularly about where we stand and that we are growing. We are getting more solvent, and we have in the last few years really reached a point now that we're able to start looking at projects on our own, and being able to be kind of a self-sufficient DDA, and so I thought the update went well, and hopefully it provided the information they needed, and kind of gives us a way forward, especially on things like we're talking about, like with the tree grate project, and that we could either collaborate or we could continue to pursue some of these projects on our own as a DDA in the next, with putting out like a 2 to 3 year time frame on some of those.
Okay. I thought it was good also. The information was excellent, so that I think ahead of time, they had a good feel for where we were going.
I thought it was great too. One thought for next year is whether we might want to put it into more of a PowerPoint with pictures and something a little more
Good
engaging
idea.
than just reading it document,
Good idea. Okay. Moving on to other business, old business. Are we other or old this morning? Nothing?
We're mostly old.
Yeah, we are mostly old. Okay.
The only thing I would say is that we may need to think about the next DDA meeting by Zoom if it's, right now, as Victor said, we're able to have the whole board in the chambers, but if things are increasing, that may be something we want to be open to.
Absolutely. We'll take the city direction on that. Okay?
Can I ask a question about, I guess, since Whitmer was stripped of her right to do the executive orders and like shut down things, do you know is it on a township, city, all that kind of basis, or would the legislature have to say, or could Victor say we've shut down Harbor Springs?
No, so it's kind of complicated. So there's different responsibilities fall on different things. So right now, the state health department has basically taken over a lot of what was in the governor's orders and has implemented that. Then we have our own health department that has its own guidelines. The city council can decide to declare some sort of order if they should choose so to think that they can constitutionally uphold an argument for like more mask wearing or more different policies that go beyond what the health departments do. But then we enter into a potential legal struggle with the courts if someone challenges that. We know the health departments have that authority, and certain cities around the state and around the country are also kind of implementing their own, state of emergencies, state of disaster kind of things. But we really don't call for that in our charter. I can't do it myself. I can only do so for what I administer and govern, so we can, as a staff, say, City Hall is, closed or open. We can say, we need to shut down parks because of health or some other reasons, or safety reasons. But we can't ultimately just say, we're going to unilaterally, as a city manager, put these together. So really have to be council, and then council would have to take the advice of our attorney or our legal team to say, is this something we can do without potentially being sued and going down a rabbit hole? So we're still relying mostly on the health departments, both the state one and the Northwest Michigan Health Department for our guidance there.
In the beginning of the news, I believe I was watching Channel 4 last night. I don't normally watch the news at night. It's not what I want to go to sleep to. But they had Wayne Schmidt, the other senator on there, and they have absolutely mentioned shutting down the state whatsoever. They think it's the worst thing from an economic standpoint. And I guess it's just obviously you can tell that I'm quite concerned about, the numbers rising as much as they are now. I do realize that, and Kathy, I don't know, you and I talked about the fact that the number was 60 at Villa by the Bay of COVID patients.
It's doubled.
It's doubled, and that went to 120. So in actuality, the number that we have is not, it's thwarted by the number at Villa by the Bay. That's a huge number of 120 plus
Yeah.
some of the staff.
No, it's not I can speak to that. Villa only has a census of 73 patients. And they
Oh.
have it, so it's not all Villa. It's also growing in other areas. Villa is a lot of it, but it's not all of the numbers.
Oh, it's
And
not 120.
The website says.
No,
No,
Okay, that's good.
Um,
but it's still everybody, there. But it's not,
it's,
the
it's,
number growing in every place, not just Villa.
we have.
Right, they had to open up another wing at the hospital too, right? Did somebody hear that?
Yeah,
the hospital,
Yes.
the hospital is full, and it has been full, and they're not taking any new transport from other hospitals. And that's what my doctor had told me, just to, be mindful of that for my own health. So the hospital is being full, and the amount of people on getting extra assistance for breathing has gotten really high.
the things that council can do, or like what we did earlier in the year was, for example, they put a moratorium on short-term rentals. So anything that's within our purview that, we created ordinances for, we can also, advise, temporarily take back those ordinances, adjust those ordinances. It's when you get into some of these, can the council shut down the city? Can they shut down businesses? I don't think that's possible. I mean, they can always try it, but I don't think that's advisable or possible. We always can say who can use our streets and our sidewalks when and how, but again, that's also not advisable.
I think one thing we might want to think about ahead of time is I know Rodrigo's is now closed to in-house dining. They're only doing carry-out, so maybe we want to think about having pick-up parking spaces again.
Yeah.
It could be. I mean, that's something we could discuss.
Not yet.
Winter time, there's hardly that many people
Good
anyway.
point.
And
Yeah,
there's,
so
yeah,
usually not an issue, but, yeah. So, different cities, so you see some cities acting more aggressively, and that's because the way their cities are set up, like, for example, a city of Detroit may have a health department within the city. We don't have our own health department. So, we can't really do certain things that some other bigger cities that by their charter are set up are allowed to do. Like we said, we've talked about this. We rely on our health departments for our guidance on health issues, and that's really what this is. So, if the health departments come out with different guidance, then or different rules, then yeah, we'll follow those.
Okay.
But like the things with short-term rentals, we can go to the planning commission to rezone things, but I just don't think it's advisable at this point.
Okay. Margot, where are we in replacing the kiosk that was hit by Boyer Glassworks?
I've been in touch with Kevin Van. He's rebuilding it. He has not let me know that it's in yet.
Okay. Do we have one in storage that was in front of Rob's place that we could move there? Oh, no, it was a different kind.
Yeah, I don't think it
Okay,
was the
it wasn't.
same.
You're right, it was not.
And since the person's insurance is covering it, it has to be,
Up replacement.
our insurance
Okay,
is covering that.
okay. I've noticed how it's covered, and I see snow plowing issues if we don't get something up there shortly. People tripping on it, if there's snow on it, it's not visible. It's visible right now, but it won't be soon. So we need to urge them to get that back in place before snow falls.
It's supposed to be in production right now.
Okay. All right, anything else? If not, we will see everyone in December and have a safe and small Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, everyone. Good luck next week, Margot.
he's gone.
Lovely meeting ending music. Good, how about you, dear? Good. That's, oh, thank you. Brian's, what happens if he dies?
Okay.
At the here.
Thank you, ladies.
What happens if he dies here?
So
Take
what
care.
happens if he dies?
Yeah.
What I get, what we wanted to go to bed if both of us died in a car accident.
See you next.
The house
Oh,
would
okay.
get us, and we would
Congrats to
also
Jen.
get the money from.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
She excited?
Yeah, I think so.
I guess she
Like,
can't be my
it's
landscaping
a lot.
assistant
At present.
anymore.
If not, then it reverts to
Well,
the
you guys can
nephews.
talk, we don't switch you out, saying you won't see how.
But he must be pretty good.
Okay.